Good evening, everyone. Yes, so we are going to start off with the daily current affairs, 6 September 2022. I would like you to just tell me whether you can hear me and see me properly or not. Good evening. Can you hear me? Am I audible? Am I visible? Right. All right then. So we are going to start off with the 6 September 2022 current affairs. Let's start off with the first one. I'm sure all of you must have read about it, how Cyrus Mistry, he passed away. And so hence we should know what are the rules regarding seat belts and head restraints and safety regulations in case of motor vehicle accidents in our country. Oh, no idea who you are. My name is Priyanka Dhillon, and well, I was with Clad Possible for a really long time. In between, I went somewhere else, and now I'm back. Prashant, you have a little bit of an idea now. Yes. Okay. Shalom. Thank you. All right. So we'll start off with the seat belts and head restraints and safety regulations. So the very first thing is the 3-point seat belt that is there in our each and every car. Who has introduced it? So Nils Ever Bolen, a passive safety device which was first incorporated in the car Volvo in 1959. And this is exactly what is used in all of our cars. If I talk about the seat belt, that is something like the one that we utilize on aircrafts, right? And the one that we have in our cars, the 3 strips that come out. So that is what we are using in our cars, in Indian cars. So on 11 February 2022, the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, it had issued a notification, and Chandigarh Center, yes, I am in the Chandigarh Center, right. Daydreamer, reincarnated, I love the name. Anyway, so the Ministry of Road and Transport and Highways have asked all the Indian vehicles to have this 3-seat belt. And this particular thing is absolutely necessary in M1 category cars. Good evening. Right? So M1 category cars kaun se hote hain? Those cars which are carrying not more than 8 seats or passengers, so our cabs and usually all of our gadis. And also it stipulated relevant Indian standards to be followed. What stands out is the Motor Vehicle Accident Act of 2019 already has a provision that says that each and every passenger in every car must wear a seat belt. So it's not only the driver and the co-passengers, it is also the passengers who sit in the back seat. And in case people don't do that, there is a fine of 1,000 rupees. Important takeaways, you must have read about it. There are a lot of motor vehicle accidents that happen in India. In fact, India has the highest road fatalities in the world. And what is the sad part is we have only 1% of the global vehicle population, but the share in the road deaths is around 11%. At least 90% of our Indian vehicles on Indian roads, they don't come with 6 airbags. And so we need to change a lot of this. We need to change our efforts. We have to have a behavioral change so that such incidents do not continue in the future. All right. So then the next one is the Jharkhand Chief Minister wins a trust vote. So before we go ahead, I'd like to ask you a question. What is the anti-defection law? Everyone who's online. By virtue of which amendment did anti-defection law come into being? And what is the meaning of anti-defection law? And in case we don't know it, just tell me that you don't. And then we'll talk about it. So everybody who's online. Good. 52nd Amendment Act of 1985. And what is the anti-defection law? What does it mean? 50 seconds. That's nice. Lovely. Okay. Let's learn a little bit about this, and then we will start off with the explanation of what has happened in Jharkhand. So you must have heard of this term called Aaya Ram Gaya Ram. So this was basically the reason why the anti-defection law came into being in our constitution. This Mr. Ram was one MLA who changed his party a lot of times in a single day. Now, why do we change our parties? That is basically because if I have to become the prime minister or the chief minister, my party needs to be the majority party in the legislature. So what used to happen was, just to gain majority in a particular legislature, people used to go from one place to another, one party to another. And so hence, very rightly said by all of you, by virtue of the 52nd Amendment Act of 1985, the 10th schedule was added, which talks about anti-defection laws. Basically, you will be disqualified if you change parties after becoming an MLA. Nitish Kumar, if an MLA falls with his or her party, he will be disqualified. Absolutely right. So the very first thing is, if I'm from party A and I have got elected, I cannot change my party. In case I change my party, मैं किसी और party को join अगर कर लेती हूँ, तो मेरे को disqualify किया जा सकता है. Why would I say किया जा सकता है? We'll just talk about it. अगर मैं एक nominated member हूँ, तो I get around 6 months to change my party, within which I can change my party, but after the end of 6 months, I can't. Otherwise, I might get disqualified. If I'm an independent candidate ऐसा candidate जो किसी भी political party को belong नहीं करता, such a person is not allowed to change his or her party. Also, if I vote against my party. So these are the reasons why anti-defection law comes into play. There is one exception to this rule. If in case 2/3 of my party members join another party, this is not termed as defection, this is termed as a merger. And hence, it is not a ground of disqualification. Ab in sare ke sare cases mein, who is the one who decides whether I'll be disqualified or not? So it's either the speaker, when we talk about Lok Sabha, or the chairman. अच्छा, अब लिख के बताओ, स्पीकर कौन सी पार्टी का होता है? ऑपोजिशन का होता है, split or merger? This is merger, beta. The ones who are left behind, 1/3, that's the split. Okay. Speaker is from the ruling party or the opposition party? Ruling party, that's true. And which is why sometimes people get disqualified, sometimes they don't. So if I'm from the opposition and I'm joining the ruling party, sometimes the speaker may just disregard it and they might not disqualify me. Correct. Well done. Appointed by the ruling party. So Udit, we'll use the term elected because the speaker is elected, not appointed, but you are absolutely correct there that it is from the ruling party. Now let's understand what is there in the current affairs. So Jharkhand CM wins the trust vote. Now we do understand there is a concept of a no confidence motion wherein the entire house is telling the ruling party that we do not have any confidence in you and we do not think that you can move forward or you can take this government forward. And this happens very, very simply. 50 members would adopt this motion and it will be passed by a simple majority. A simple majority is more than 50% of the members present and voting. उसका बिल्कुल ही उल्टा क्या हो जाता है? कॉन्फिडेंस मोशन या फिर ट्रस्ट मोशन. अब ट्रस्ट मोशन की बात तब आती है when we feel that there is a hung assembly or an assembly or a legislature where we are unable to understand whether you have the clear majority or not. In this particular case, CM Hemant Soren, it is alleged that he's doing office of profit. So first we'll understand what is office of profit and then we'll go back to what has happened here. And now office of profit, what would be the difference between a merger and a coalition? Okay. So a merger in this case, firstly, what's the name? Shraddha. A merger is a term that we utilize under the 10th schedule, beta, wherein 2/3 members of one political party are going and joining another. The process of leaving your own party and joining another, this process is known as a merger. The result is that two parties have come together. Now, when we talk about coalition, let's take the example of 2018 Karnataka elections. The three parties that were there were Indian National Congress, Janata Dal Secular, and BJP. BJP was the one that got the largest amount of seats. After which these two parties came together, and this is either termed as a post-poll alliance, or it is termed as a coalition government. So what I'm trying to say, Shraddha, is when two particular political parties are coming together and they want to be known as a single entity for whatever reason, that is a coalition or a pre or a post-poll alliance, that depends upon when are they coming together. If they're coming together before the election, it's called a pre-poll alliance. If they are coming together after the elections, they are called a post-poll alliance or a coalition government. Wherein the entities, the two political parties are retaining their entities. And so they're coming together and they're forming a new group. However, a merger, on the other hand, it's not as if I like this party and I also want to be a part of this. This means I don't like this party and I want to become a part of another party. So that's the difference. So in a merger, the member wants to give up the party and go and join another. In a coalition, two particular political parties or more than two will come together and form an alliance. Is that okay? Shraddha, what is the provision of split of party in anti-defection law? So Tanvi, 1/3 and 2/3. When 2/3 of one political party are going and joining another political party, this is what is a merger. There's a split in this government. And according to the 52nd Amendment Act of 1985, we will not defect them. So this is not termed as defection here. So there's a split in the party. Vijayant is saying, clear. Shraddha Mahajan, I'm waiting for you, bache. Right, clear. Okay. Let's come back here. Office of profit. Ab office of profit kya hota hai? It is basically a mode of disqualification of a member of the legislature. Has office of profit been defined anywhere? There is no conclusive proof or there's no conclusive one definition of office of profit. However, it is a mode of disqualification under Article 102. So my next question is, if in accordance with the 10th schedule, I've just joined, can anyone tell me which topic we are covering right now? But we are covering this topic. So we haven't really gone on to the topic yet. We're just talking about modes of disqualification. We're talking about office of profit right now. All right, so everyone. So my question is, under the anti-defection law, the person who decides the defection is speaker or the chairman. Apart from that, with respect to other disqualifications of a member of a legislature, let's say in the parliament, who is the one who will decide whether the member should be disqualified or not? Tell me. The governor decides. The EC decides. The governor. Okay, so you are right, but you did not listen to my question. I was talking about the union. Good. Governor is absolutely right for a state, since we are talking about a state. But when we say Election Commission of India, bache, that becomes a little incorrect. It is, however, the binding advice of the Election Commission of India, but it is the president at the end of the day, if we are talking about the union, who will take the decision. Even though he's the nominal head, it will be his signature, right? Okay. So, however, several attempts have been made to define by various sources. Now, in 1964, the Supreme Court created a criteria to understand what is office of profit. So if I may say so, it's a very simple thing. It's called hire plus fire plus direction plus control. Who will give me this job if it is the government? Who will remove me from this job? Who gives me the money to do this job? What is the source of this remuneration? Is it a government account? Is it a private account? And what is the power that I get along with this position? Apart from this, there are also parliamentary committees. So there is one parliamentary committee which is dedicated towards Office of Profit cases. It is known as the Joint Committee on Office of Profit. So there are 15 members, 10 from Lok Sabha, 5 from Rajya Sabha, and their basic job is to understand from case to case basis, should we disqualify this person or not? My next question is the decision of any party, any parliamentary committee, is it binding upon the parliament, or case in point being state legislature? According to you, will the decision be binding or not? Well done. Lovely. It is not binding. Badhiya, badhiya, bahut badhiya bachche. Acha ji. So there is no as such definition of Office of Profit, but however, the Parliament has made a negative list. Now, what is the meaning of negative list? Negative list is very simple. If I have to make a positive list of all the students in my class, I will write down all of your names. I will say following are the students in my class, XYZ. But in case I have to make a negative list, I will say following are the students who are not in my class. And I will not take your names, I will take other people's names. So in the same manner, when the Parliament has made a negative list on Office of Profit, it is basically telling you these are the posts that will not come under Office of Profit. So for example, let's talk about a minister. Ab aap bataiye, let's say a minister like Nirmala Sitharaman or Amit Shah or even Pradhan Mantri Narendra Modi. These people are there in the executive. You tell me, are they also a part of the legislature or not? Is a minister like Nirmala Sitharaman, is she a part of the legislature or not? They are. In fact, doctrine of separation of powers, as opined by Montesquieu, the strict separation of power is not something that we follow. We follow an Indianized version of doctrine of separation of power, wherein my minister has to be a member of either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. In fact, if he is not, then he is given 6 months after getting appointed. He has to become either a member of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. In case he doesn't, he or she doesn't, they will be removed because it's a mandatory condition. Now, since it's a mandatory condition, we will not put it under Office of Profit. Otherwise, it does fall under the ambit of the definition. They are a part of the executive, also part of the legislature. If they are part of the legislature, they are getting salaries, allowances for that. If they are ministers, they are getting more funds from the Consolidated Fund of India. But we will not term it as an Office of Profit. The next comes whip. What's a whip? So Vijayan, they are a part, hai na? Any minister, so I'm talking about the union, and you can take a similar case in the state. If I am, let's say I'm appointed as the finance minister, but I'm not a member of Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, I'm given a basic 6-month period within which either I have to become a Lok Sabha member or I have to become a Rajya Sabha member. It's a mandatory condition. The party chief, he decides what to vote for parliament for the party. Okay, very nice. He or she is the one who will give this instruction to the party members. Absolutely right. Whether to vote or not to vote, to abstain from voting, what is the matter, whether to attend or not to attend, all of that is decided by them, because of which they get a few extra allowances. Ordered by a party to vote in or against the favor. Whips are usually used by the okay, you've retracted it. Chief whip, correct. Okay. So it is not just for the ruling party, it's also for the opposition parties, right? Then there is something known as the leader of opposition. Oh, before that, deputy chairman of erstwhile planning commission. Now it's no longer there. Niti Aayog ban chuka hai wo. Ab leader of opposition kya hota hai? How many seats does an opposition party need to get a leader of opposition? Well done. I'm loving the fact that you know most of it and you're making my job rather simple. So thank you. Well done. Very nice. Yeah? 10% of the total strength. Very nice. Very nice. ठीक है. तो लोकसभा में कोई लीडर ऑफ ऑपोजिशन आज की डेट पे है नहीं. आप घर पे हो आप, सॉरी, होमवर्क के तौर पे यू विल फिगर आउट हु इज द लीडर ऑफ ऑपोजिशन इन राज्यसभा. ओके, चलो. सो 10% उदित, राइट? ओके. Then also the chairperson of the National Advisory Council and Chair Ghulam Nabi Azad. You can go and read about it again, Hannah. Just do it again. And he was in news, Ghulam Nabi Azad, because he resigned from a particular party. But yes, you should go and read this, and it'll be rather simple. You'll be able to figure it out. In case you can't, of course, you can ask your teachers. So chairman of National Commission for Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribe, Minorities, Women, Territorial Army, National Cadet Corps, member of any delegation which is sent outside India, and member of any committee. Right, now everybody is giving me the answer. You guys are right. ठीक है जी. Now Jharkhand CM wins the trust vote. What has happened is he tabled a confidence motion, basically trying to say that, listen, I still have the majority and I will remain the chief minister of Jharkhand. And in fact, he even got it. Achha, he used a term called horse trading. Horse trading is the reason why we spoke about anti-defection law. So horse trading is basically when a political party tries to bring in members from the opposition party in order to gain majority in the assembly and resort to unapproved techniques in doing so. So they'll give them money, or they will say, oh, main aapko minister bana dunga, so on and so forth, right? So that terminology isko horse trading bolte hain. So what is the news? The fact that he has won the trust vote. But however, we are still thinking maybe he might be disqualified because there is a case of office of profit against him. So we will keep reading about this. And in case that office of profit disqualification does happen, then he will no longer be allowed to be in the Jharkhand Legislative Assembly. Chairperson of the National Advisory Council. So National Advisory Council used to be a body, बच्चे जब प्लानिंग कमीशन होता था तो वहां पे स्टेट की रिप्रेजेंटेशन नहीं होती थी, ठीक? So National Advisory Council used to flesh out all the plans, the 5-year plans made by the Planning Commission. However, today in Niti Aayog, we have the planning body as well as the executive body within the same. So hence we do not have any requirement of a National Advisory Council, is why we do not talk about it. Chalo. Ab next aa jata hai conversion therapy. Now this is rather weird. The thing is LGBTQ community, right? So there is a concept of constitutional morality. Let's first understand that. Not everything is written in the Constitution. But however, how do we understand the intention of the Constituent Assembly? Because things are changing in our world. There's artificial intelligence. We've started making laws on transgenders, right? We've started making laws on LGBTQ community. We've started talking about live-in relationships. But all of this is not mentioned in the Constitution. So how is it that we understand what was the thinking of the Constituent Assembly? What was the morality behind the entire provision? And so the answer to that is we, the people of India. The Constitution has been made for we, the people of India. And it is not just for we, the majority people of India. And so hence sometimes public morality changes the Constitution. Sometimes constitutional morality changes the public. Right, 377. Ma'am, I did not get Office of Profit case. I read in the newspaper that earlier he was Minister of State for Mines and he had leased of mines in his name. That is why the case, that is why the trust vote has been passed. Is it? Yes, Tanvi. So let's go back to that. So like we've written over here that the BJP had sought the disqualification of Soren as an MLA, accusing him of allocating a mining lease to himself while he had held the state mining portfolio. So not only was he holding that portfolio, it is alleged that he has also signed a mining lease to himself. So if I am a minister and tomorrow, I have to get a road made and I'm the one who's signing out tenders, and silently my brother is the one who gets the tender and nobody knows that he's my brother, but I'm giving it to him. Or let's say I'm giving it to my mother, or let's say I'm giving it to my husband, let's say. Somewhere down the line, the money is coming in my house only. So, ek to I'm an MLA, I'm getting sarkar ki salary. Dusra, I'm signing this mining lease off to myself. That means I'm getting some money through that also. So that is considered to be incorrect. That is what the BJP has alleged. And he says there is no warrant in this. This is absolutely incorrect. And so hence he seeked a confidence motion. Right. Hum hi judge, hum hi vakil. Correct. Absolutely right. Hami judge, hami vakil. Are you an NLU graduate? No, I'm not. I'm from Army Institute of Law, Mohali. Does that change the way you look at me? Chalo. Anyway, the next one is conversion therapy. So now under conversion therapy, so we were talking about that, constitutional morality and public morality. So daydreamer reincarnated. हम ही जज हम ही वकील. कौन वकील और कौन जज? मैं जज और मैं वकील. बताना जरा. I did not really understand your comment. It's rather interesting. Okay. So the conversion therapy is basically for the LGBTQ community, all right? And so sometimes people feel that, you see, somebody is Soren he judge, Soren he vakil. Acha ji, theek hai. So conversion therapy में क्या हो जाता है कि people feel that it's a mental disorder if somebody says that, you know, I'm a lesbian or I'm a gay or I'm a bisexual or I'm a transgender. Now, transgender is biologically there. So, transgender right now, according to the 2019 Act, also talks about people who have a sex change operation. It's rather unfortunate that our medical textbooks, which were printed in 2018, they still consider lesbianism as a perversion, as a mental degradation. That means people think that there's something wrong with your thinking, and which is why you're a lesbian or you're gay. And it's amazing how the National Medical Commission has stepped up, and it has said that in case you use these conversion therapies, now what are these conversion therapies? So people say you have to get a psychiatric treatment or electric shock or exorcism, or you have to resort to violence so that the person realizes कि भाई मैं gay नहीं हूँ, मैं lesbian नहीं हूँ, bisexual नहीं हूँ, which is sickening to say the least. And it is amazing how the National Medical Commission has said the same. The first step towards the inclusion of the LGBTQ community was when somebody rightly said Section 377, not article. So Section 377, which criminalized sexual intercourse between homosexuals, it was decriminalized later on. And this is the second step. Because you see, if somebody is coming out and somebody is trying to say that, listen, I'm not straight, I'm gay, and then you resort to psychiatric treatment for that person, it's rather unfortunate. So they've said if in case any medical professional is found doing such things, this will be considered as a professional misconduct. According to the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, such therapies are based on the false premise that gender diverse identities and homosexuality is a pathological. Basically, it's a disease, it's a mental disease. And of course, if you do this to somebody, it will lead to depression, it will lead to a lot of problems, right? Now, we need to know about the National Medical Commission. पहले इसको क्या बोलते थे? Indian Medical Council. ठीक है? It was established in 1934. RBI was also established in 1934. So you can sort of course, there is no interrelation between the two. What I'm trying to say is, every time you have some static figure that you have to learn, and in case you can relate things to it, you should, and you should be able to learn it like that. So Indian Medical Council used to establish uniform standards for higher education. And for lawyers, the same is done by the Bar Council of India, as you must have read about it, obviously. Of late, this has now been converted into National Medical Commission. कब हुआ है ये वाली चीज? ये फिर आप खुद पढ़ के आएंगे. So this is your homework. When was the National Medical Commission made? It has 4 separate autonomous bodies for undergraduate, postgraduate, medical assessment and rating, and ethics and medical registration. Now comes your Arya Samaj marriage certificate is invalid. So Arya Samaj, first we'll understand what is Arya Samaj, and then we'll talk about the marriage certificate. So it focuses on the re-establishment of the Vedas, which are the earliest Hindu scriptures. Swami Dayanand Saraswati, who was the founder of Arya Samaj, he was also the founder of the reform movement of Vedic Dharma. And so he established the first Arya Samaj unit in 1875 in Mumbai. And he believed in a classless and a casteless and united India, which should be free from foreign control. It is against idol worship or animal sacrifice. And now what is happening? The Supreme Court has been getting a lot of cases wherein people who are professing the Arya Samaj thinking, they go get married and then they get themselves registered. And now the question is whether that marriage certificate is authentic or not. So firstly, Arya Samaj, there are two acts that it derives its authority from, the marriage. There is Arya Samaj Marriage Validation Act of 1937 and Hindu Marriage Act of 1955, wherein they give the certificate to a male who has attained the age of 21 and to a female who has attained the age of 18. My question is, has there been a recent amendment in any act wherein the age of a bride and a groom, a child bride and a groom, has been increased or decreased? It is to do with prohibition of child marriages. So has it been changed or not? Do you read Indian Express? Yes, I do. But why would you say that? Janvi Tiwari. But Indian Express is one of the best newspapers. I mean, a lot of people go by Hindu, and Hindu is also equally good. But yeah, I like Indian Express. Yes, the age is increased to 21 for females, no amendment. Girls' age increased to 21. Yes, Hindu Marriage Act, there is no change. So we'll go and read about the Prohibition of Child Marriages Act, है ना? और दूसरा क्वेश्चन चलो, अब पूछ ही रहे हैं तो सभी पूछ लेते हैं. According to the Prohibition of Child Marriages Act, बच्चे जो child marriage होती है वो void होती है कि voidable होती है? Voidable. Last amendment 2019 में था जिसमें leprosy को as a ground for divorce हटा दिया गया था. Voidable, void, voidable, void, void. It's voidable, है ना? We'll go and read about it, and then we'll also read about the amendment with respect to the age of child marriage. Anyway, so over here they've spoken about 21 years old for a male and 18 years for a bride. They've also said that they believe in intercaste marriage, they believe in interreligious marriages, but the marrying person should not be a Muslim, a Christian, a Parsi, or a Jew. And so they say if they are any of these, we will, convert them through a process called Shuddhi. So what I'd like for you to read is the anti-conversion laws. Have you read about it? अगर आपने anti-conversion laws पढ़े हैं, तो आप होमवर्क के तौर पे ये पढ़ना कि ये एंटी कन्वर्जन लॉज कहाँ पे एप्लीकेबल है. हैव यू रेड अबाउट द एंटी कन्वर्जन लॉज बच्चे? चलो बहुत बढ़िया. सो वी कैन गो एंड रीड अबाउट दिस कि ये एंटी कन्वर्जन लॉज क्या पैन इंडिया पे अप्लाई होते हैं कि कुछ स्टेट्स में अप्लाई होते हैं, एंड इन केस इट्स जस्ट अ फ्यू स्टेट्स देन यू कैन गो एंड रीड विच स्टेट्स आर दीज. ठीक है. And with respect to the marriage certificate by Arya Samaj, according to the Supreme Court, it is not equivalent to getting legally registered. Your marriage is legally registered, ye nahi mana jayega. Then comes your, can electoral parties using religious names be barred? Yes, no, no. Okay, so go read about the anti-conversion laws. It's been in the news for a really, really long time. Love jihad करके सुना? तो आप जाके पढ़िए एंटी कन्वर्जन लॉज के बारे में, कौन सी स्टेट्स में ये चीज अप्लाई हो रही है. Because this has been in the news for a really, really long time. It's basically they're talking about the fact that people change their religion to get married. And so you do know there are certain personal laws and there are certain secular legislations for marriage in India. And, sometimes what happens is people just change their religion in order for them to get married. And so these laws prohibit that. And they also prohibit the fact that sometimes people use coercion or undue influence. to get the other person to change their religion. So we'll go and we'll read about it. Good, some people are writing down the states. You're right, but there are plenty more. So we'll go and we'll make a list of this. है ना? कौन से states में ये anti-conversion laws हैं. Now the next thing is, can electoral parties using religious names be barred? So very recently, a bench of Justice M.R. Shah and Krishna Murari issued notice on a plea filed by former Uttar Pradesh Shia Waqf Board Chairman Wasim Ahmad Rizvi, alleging that no political party was allowed to seek votes in the name of religion in a secular country, and they should not be allowed to use religious names and symbols while seeking votes on the hustings. Now, examples that the petition stated were the Muslim League, Hindu Ekta Andolan Party, Akhil Bharat Hindu Mahasabha, Christian Democratic Front, and Sahajdari Sikh Party. Obviously, we know that we are a secular country. There are plenty of provisions in the constitution that are implicitly and explicitly talking about the same. There are plenty of statutory obligations upon political parties who are standing for elections, that they should not use religion, that politics and religion should not be mixed. Simple as that. But we do see this around us. And so hence, what does the law say about it? Now, the Supreme Court has asked the Election Commission of India to debar certain parties that use religion, because in the name of religion, you should not be asking for votes. This is basically going to divide us even further. So secular electoral practices, like I said, the Constitution, Part 15 of the Constitution, clearly lays down that the religion and politics should not be intermingled. In fact, Article 25 to 28 also talks about the same thing. Now, Section 123, Clause 3 of the Representation of Peoples Act 1951, they define corrupt practices as appeals made by the candidates or their agents to vote or refrain from voting for any person on the ground of his religion, race, caste, community, or language. There's also the Abhiram Singh versus C.D. Komachand ruling, wherein the constitutional bench, कितने members होते हैं constitutional bench में? Shiv Sena, Akali Dal, and All India Majlis, these are the main ones. Right, okay. And the main ones are being categorized on which basis? Right, anywhere between 5 to 13. That's absolutely correct. Right, Ji. The next one is President Murmu calls for teaching in mother language. So there was a National Teachers Award ceremony that took place obviously on Teachers' Day. And President Murmu, she basically said that, if in case kids are taught in their own language, in their mother tongue, they will be able to understand the concept even better. And according to the census of 2011 in India, there are 121 mother tongues, of which 22 languages are included in the 8th schedule of our constitution, and they account for around 96.72% of the Indians. Firstly, do we have a national language or do we have an official language? So Daydreamer Reincarnated, I'm very intrigued. What's your name, firstly? And secondly, Bache, I was talking about what is written in the petition, right? Achha, do we have an official language or do we have a national language? We have an official language as English, but no language. Isn't Hindi also our official language? Yes or no? Yes. All right. So, firstly, very rightly said, we have an official language. We can't possibly have a national language because India is known for its diverse languages and we have to give weightage to each and every one of them, right? Secondly, yes, Hindi is also official, correct. Secondly, so part 17 of the constitution deals with kaun si wali official languages kahan pe utilize ki jati hain. Jaise in the union, yeah, when one state is talking to another state, or when we have to redress our grievances, which are the languages that we can use. The 8th schedule, on the other hand, gives us a list of 22 official languages. If we talk about linguistic minorities, let's first do this and then we will go on to the next. I keep opening the Zoom application for some reason. Anyway, so minorities in our country, they are identified on the basis of two things. एक तो आपका आ गया religion और दूसरा आपका आ गया language. With respect to linguistic minorities, we have an Article 350B, wherein the President appoints a special officer for linguistic minorities. You will go and read the name of this special linguistic officer because it is in news, right? Why is it in news? Minorities anyway are in news, and of late, the center has also said that each state can identify its own minority, whether on the basis of language or on the basis of religion. So this special officer for linguistic minorities will take care of the welfare of these linguistic minorities, correct? And he prepares a report, which is then sent to the president, and then president sends it to the parliament. The second thing is Article 29. So Article 29 of the Constitution says that no person will be denied admission in an educational institution which is taken care of by the government on the basis of language. भाषा के बेसिस पे किसी भी एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन जो कि गवर्नमेंट फंडेड है या गवर्नमेंट ओन्ड है उसमें आप डिनाई नहीं कर सकते एडमिशन. Then we also know about the national education policy. Chalo, that is in the slide itself, and so we can read it from there. So the president presented the national awards to teachers, to 46 awardees, and the national education policy. So it has advocated that wherever possible, the medium of instruction until grade 5, but preferably till grade 8 and beyond, will be the home language or the mother tongue or the local language or the regional language for both public and private schools. Can everybody hear me? Can you hear me properly? Yes, ma'am, audible. All right, ठीक है जी. So according to the national education policy, you should give preference to your own local language or your mother tongue. Article 29 is something that we've already spoken about. What I'd like you to tell me is that according to you, if you've read it, well and good. If you haven't, just use your logic. Will we ever force any student to learn a particular language? Will the national education policy ever say that? कि भाई हम तो फोर्सफुली आपको इसी भाषा में पढ़ाएंगे? नहीं ना, बहुत बढ़िया. अच्छा, एक और होमवर्क हमारा क्या आ गया? नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी के तहत कौन से स्टेट्स में इम्प्लीमेंटेशन शुरू हो चुकी है? Which Indian states have already started implementing the national education policy? Okay, good. Let's go ahead. And so the next one is PM Shri Yojana for developing schools. So now on the occasion of Teachers' Day, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has announced over 14,500 schools which will be developed and upgraded across India under the Pradhan Mantri School for Rising India. So they are basically very nice. Karnataka, MP, good, yeah, very right. Okay. So they're basically trying to say that we are going to start this centrally sponsored scheme. But a centrally sponsored scheme kya hoti hai? What is the meaning of centrally sponsored scheme? Or rather, let me ask a better question. If the center makes a scheme on matters of list 1, what are they called? Chalo, let's do this only. So by virtue of the 7th schedule, we get 3 lists. There is list 1, list 2, and list 3. इसके ऊपर union is making the laws, इसके ऊपर state, and matters of list 3 पे कौन law बनाता है? Both the center as well as the state. Correct. 100% investment by the center, 100% funded by the center. So जो matters of list 1 है, उसके ऊपर if the center makes a scheme that is known as a central scheme. Any matter upon which the state can also make a scheme. If the center is making a scheme, that is known as a centrally sponsored scheme. Right, Ji. So PM Shri Yojana for developing schools, the Pradhan Mantri School for Rising India will be a laboratory for the new NEP. So we are going to implement NEP, and so we require that kind of infrastructure, and this infrastructure will be created in these schools. So NEP will replace the 34-year-old National Policy on Education framed in 1986. So the first one was made in 1968, the second in 1986, and the third in 2020. These particular schools will be more experiential, it will be holistic, integrated, play toy based. Basically the thing that every student has been, really craving for now. I don't really say that I know how your schools function, but when we were in school, it was more like rote learning, ratification. प्रैक्टिकल ओरिएंटेड पढ़ाई इतनी ज्यादा होती नहीं थी. आप लोग बताओ, आपके स्कूलों में प्रैक्टिकल ओरिएंटेड पढ़ाई होती है कि इज इट रोट लर्निंग? रट्टा होता है कि प्रैक्टिकल होता है? No difference right now. It's still the same. Ratta maar. Right. So you see, this particular thing is so bad because people like us, we do ratification and we get such nice grades. Everyone over here, I'm sure, is getting amazing grades. But kya use uska when you don't even know how to apply it, right? So what we are going to do now is it's going to be more practical. In fact, a lot of schools are doing this of late, but, including smart classrooms, not that they weren't there before, but, you will utilize it more. Libraries hamesha se the, but you will utilize that more. There'll be sports equipment, art room. Ye sari cheezein pehle se thi. But now we are going to inculcate them into our curriculum so much so that, students actually understand ki bhai agar hum log ye padh rahe hain, kyun padh rahe hain? What is the purpose of this? It shouldn't be like, acha, wo raja mar gaya, to chalo rat liya. You see, you should know history is so important. Like I can talk about myself. My history teacher was, chalo, bahut hi badhiya. Maybe I was a bad student, but I never really understood the logic behind it. It was very, very late in life. Then I started reading it and I started enjoying the subject. Right. Rote learning is still present. Project ke naam pe bhi we have to do copy paste Wikipedia. Basically doing what was not done before to implement it today. Very true. आजकल तो पैसे देते हैं लोग project बनाने के लिए, is what I've heard. I mean, I have these little cousins. There's an entire market. You have to go and give them money. They make the project for you. And then you get an A grade. So, अलग ही चीज हो रहा है. Anyway, let's go ahead. So, India's first LNG fueled green truck. पहली बात तो let's talk a little bit about the paid project, 600 for an assignment. All right, so you have also gone through this. So what is LNG? What is liquefied natural gas? It is frozen in order to turn into a liquid form, and it has less storage capacity. I mean, it uses less space than a CNG. It offers energy density that is comparable to a diesel fuel. And it is used usually for long haul, transportation or imports. And so hence, let's do this. India's first LNG fueled green truck. So a startup backed by Blue Energy Motors has made India's first LNG truck in Chakan in Pune. So heavy duty LNG vehicles work much like gasoline. The natural gas is supercooled and cryogenically stored in a liquid form. It is 600 times smaller. We've just spoken about that. Logistic cost is, drastically reduced by 16%. And so we will have full-fledged LNG fuel trucks by the end of September 2022. It's cost-effective, it's a change maker, and it is a great alternative to petrol and diesel. And at a time when India imports so much of crude oil, and so it is better for us, and it is indigenously developed. It's even better. I paid for one project, that is true. One of my friends did it. I do it on my own every time. That's nice. Yeah, you should do it on your own. Definitely जब कर सकते हैं तो कर सकते हैं, दूसरे के साथ नहीं करना चाहिए. But a lot of people do this. Anyway, so the next is RBI guidelines for digital lending. Have you realized आजकल बहुत सारी ऐसी applications आती हैं that says अच्छा 50,000 का लोन, 2 लाख का लोन, 3 लाख का लोन. I don't know, you guys are still in school, so I don't know whether you have come across such an application or not. But there are plenty of such applications, right? And so RBI has to issue some guidelines for digital lending. क्योंकि क्या है कि कल जाके I'm putting my biometrics there, I'm putting my fingerprint and all, I'm providing them with so many documents. How do I know they will not leak my document to someone else? And how do I know whether my privacy is being compromised or not? See, we need money, and somehow, when we have to take a loan from the bank, it usually takes a very long time. So quick fixes के लिए हम लोग ये सारी applications use करने लग जाते हैं, which is why there is a huge problem. फिर उसके बाद if you don't pay it on time, then there's a lot of threat and there's a lot of coercion and गुंडे भेज देंगे घर पे and things like that happen really. Apart from that, you see in every loan, after a few amount of installments that you've paid, they help you in order to foreclose the loan. So basically, I can pay the entire amount, so that the rate of interest that I'm paying on the loan is a little less. But these digital applications are not even allowing that. They're saying अगर 3 साल का लोन लिया है तो 3 साल पे ही करना पड़ेगा, foreclosure कर नहीं सकते, even after you're paying a few installments. So now Paytm and Razorpay, cash free, correct. So RBI has tightened the norms for digital lending services, right, in cases of fraud. And so the guidelines are there should not be any middlemen. And so directly, there should be some commercial bank, some NBFC, some cooperative bank, which should be a part of it. Achha, what is the difference between a bank and a non-banking finance company? What is the one thing that the non-banking finance company can't do? Naam se hai, non-banking finance company. Batao. Non-banking can't have deposits of money. Yeah, so some of them do have time deposits, but demand deposits for sure they don't have, correct? So they have to be registered firstly. Secondly, only limited information should be stored. So no biometric information of the borrower. Can't issue DD. NBFC isn't in the, so demand deposit isn't in the second schedule. That is also true. There are only scheduled commercial banks which are there. अच्छा ऐसा है, ये रैंडम वेबसाइट्स में हम अपने बायोमेट्रिक दे देते हैं, वी डोंट रियली हैव अ प्रॉब्लम. बट द मिनट समबडी सेज आधार कार्ड को लिंक करो वोटर आईडी कार्ड से, वी आर लाइक ओ गॉड, पर्सनल डेटा लीक. So we should be very, very cautious even with respect to this. And so reporting of all these lending activities is to be done to the credit information company, and cooling off period. So like I said, after a few installments, you can just pay up the entire amount and you can end the loan then and there. And that should also be allowed in digital lending apps. And the guidelines will protect the consumers from harassment and breach of data, etc. Acha ji, this is quite cool. So India's first dark sky reserve in Hanle, Ladakh. What is this? Essay, if you can see it. You see, this place in Ladakh, Hanle's clear sky and condition and the dry weather throughout the year makes it a suitable location for the project. So the nocturnal view, रात को इतनी क्लियर आपको स्काई दिख रहा है, इतनी ब्यूटीफुल आपको स्टार्स दिख रहे हैं, right? Dry sky sanctuary to observe the stars. Exactly. Which will obviously increase the tourism. A lot of people will go there, they will reside. So bed and breakfast and hotels तो इतने होते नहीं हैं, लेकिन घर पे you can keep people and you can feed them, you can make money, and people will come from all over the world maybe to watch it. So this is a good thing. So how is a site designated as a dark sky? So a group of or an individual can nominate a site with a comprehensive application to the International Dark Sky Association. You will figure out where the headquarters of this International Dark Sky Association is. So there are 5 categories: international dark sky parks, communities, reserves, sanctuaries, and urban night sky places. And in a first of its kind, the Department of Science and Technology has announced the setting up of India's first dark sky reserve in Hanle, Ladakh. And we've already spoken about the clear sky and everything. So it is to identify and honor the public and the private lands. Obviously, if it is so clear and it's so nicely maintained, so you have to give a lot of recognition to the commitment of the communities there, which have allowed for this to happen. It promotes protection of nocturnal habitats. It promotes economic and astrotourism. It encourages land administrators and private interest. And so we will make a lot of money because of this. So there was a three-way memorandum of understanding, which was signed among the UT administration, the Ladakh Autonomous Hill Development Council. So jaise tribal areas mein Tribes Advisory Council, district and regional councils hote hain. So these are basically hill development councils, wherein the people who are residing over there, they get elected and they can decide what they want to do about that particular area. And then they can give their report to the respective legislative assembly. In this case, since it's a UT, it will go to the parliament, and then the parliament can in turn make certain laws for them. And also autonomous in the way that we will not interfere with their culture and their religion and their language and the way of land administration and so on and so forth. So this is going to, correct. So this is going to promote a lot of astrotourism, and a lot of people will come and visit, and we will make a lot of money. Now the next is ILO's World Social Protection Report of 2020 to 2022. So firstly, we have to understand what is social protection. Very simple, the last 2 points. It is basically to do with to prevent deprivation. This is to give basic minimum income and protect the individuals from any type of uncertainties. There is a government scheme called the National Social Assistance Program, which is actually doing this. So Article 41 of the Constitution gives a directive to the state to take care of the old age, the unemployed, the sick, the disabled, like work injury. So there's also Code on Safety Act, Code on Wages Act, Maternity Benefit Act hai hamare desh mein. But even though we've done so much, according to this particular report, we are still far behind. Right? The amount of expenditure that we are doing for social security is rather less, and it should increase according to the ILO's findings. So you need to go and read what is the headquarter of this organization and when was it made. So no access to social protection. So almost 53% of the population in the world has no social protection. Bangladesh has a higher percentage of people under social protection. You have to also understand that it depends upon the population. When the population increases, then the amount that we can spend upon them does decrease, because there is also infrastructural development and you have to look at a lot of other aspects. But well, that is not an excuse. We need to step up and we need to do more. Then is your seditious laws, and I think you must have read about it. We all understand. Okay, so Tanvi has given an answer. Everyone's given an answer. Wow, brilliant. हाँ जी, मुझे बताओ, ये seditious law वाला हमने पढ़ रखा है. I'm sure your teachers must have done this with you, that the definition is to be rechanged and the Supreme Court has put a hold upon it. Sunday के mock में ही था sedition. Yes, ma'am, most cases of sedition in Assam. All right, so this is done. Brilliant. Let's go ahead. India becomes the 5th largest economy. तो ये अभी हमने पढ़ा होगा. मेरे को ये भी बताओ, because this particular thing is not just today's news, this is पहले का. So if in case you've done this, we are not going to repeat it, then we can move on to the next one. Have we done? India became the world's 5th largest economy. Have we done this news? Daydreamer reincarnated. बच्चे यार, you are depriving me of your name यार. You have to tell me what's your name. अभी मैंने भी बताया ना. No ma'am, we haven't done this. Yes ma'am. But 3rd largest in terms of PPP terms. Okay, Arjuna. So no ma'am, we have not done this. Okay, Weber. Very simple. So India has now become the world's 5th largest economy by overtaking United Kingdom. And so now US and China, Japan, Germany are the only nations with economies larger than India's. See, a child asked me day before yesterday, she said, in case we've become the world's 5th largest economy, does that mean that our economy is back on track? And I said, no. Why would I say no? See, I'm not saying that we are not doing well, but are we back on track? According to me, no. And why am I saying that? Firstly, GDP, gross domestic product. There are plenty of ways to calculate it. There's GDP at factor cost, at basic price, at market price. So at market price, in this case, we are also adding the indirect taxes, right? So अगर मैंने goods and services उतनी ही बनाई है और मैंने बहुत ज़्यादा indirect tax अगर add कर दिया है, तो resultingly मेरा figure बहुत बढ़ जाता है. I think largely because of growing population, because all the countries' economy are suffering. A, that. B, also the method of calculation. See, this is not really talking about the qualitative analysis. See, we can always say that, yes, we are doing better, UK is far behind. But does that really mean that the amount of poverty and unemployment that in our country has actually reduced? No, I don't think so. And I'm sure neither do you. Right? Inflation is also taken into consideration. Exactly. So we're taking the nominal as well as the real figures. So there are plenty of ifs and buts to this. But yes, the truth is UK is behind and we are in front, and that's a very good thing. But there is a very long road ahead. We can't just say, "Acha bas, ab to bahut hi badhiya hum kar rahe hain." Agar 5 trillion economy banna hai, we'll have to do a lot more. And we are doing it. I'm not saying we are not. There's production-linked incentive schemes. There's Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. Right? There's national monetization pipeline, Gati Shakti portal. We are doing a lot. Right? But we need to do even more. So moving past one of the biggest economies in the world, especially the one that has ruled us, is a major milestone. The size of Indian economy in nominal terms through March 2022 was US dollar 854.7 billion. As of 2022, India has a population of 1.41 billion, whereas UK's population is, of course, less. And so GDP per capita will give us a more realistic picture, because now we are dividing the amount of GDP upon the total population of that area. और जब वो देखते हैं, तो India is ranking very, very low. Because you see, ma'am, but our exports are down by 8%. Did we grow or did UK shrink? UK has shrunk rather bad, है ना? Per capita में काफी पीछे हैं, but we are gradually progressing. In 2019, for a very short time, India did surpass UK to be the 5th largest, but then again, UK became the 5th largest. Right, so the point is, obviously, there are a lot of conditions related to this, and very rightly said by all of you. अभी बात किया जैसे GDP per capita है. Oxfam report करके एक report होती है which defines how many are rich and how many are poor and how much is the gap. So according to this report, 1% of the Indian population holds on to 52% of India's wealth. So that is bad, right? Of course, there are Adanis and Ambanis and Tatas, and we should be very grateful to them, but not everyone's that, right? So hence, that is what I was talking about, the qualitative analysis. So at the start of the 19th century, UK's share in extreme poverty was considerably higher than India. What is extreme poverty? According to the World Bank, how is it defined? How do we define extreme poverty? Abhi, in the month of December, I think, there was a World Bank report on extreme poverty. है ना? ठीक है. So extreme poverty we need to know, है ना? It almost goes on to 150 rupees per day. So 1.9, but we will go and we will read this. We must have read it for sure. Our teachers must have done it with us. We need to revise a little more, है ना? Sometimes we have all the material, but just the revision is the thing that we are lacking in. I'm not saying you are lacking. I'm saying I would have been lacking in it. So I'm just asking you to keep reading the same things that your teachers have done with you again and again and again. The point is, we have a lot of time. You may say, nahi, 3 mahine kam hote hain, blah, blah, blah. बहुत होते हैं. अगर बहुत फोकस के साथ पढ़ाई करो, बहुत होते हैं. ठीक है जी? And your teachers have been working rather hard, each and every one of them. And you should sit down and you should just keep reading those notes again and again and again and again, so that we are able to make sure that we win, right? At the end. Okay, ji. So the next is Supreme Court is seeking the government's response on collegium to select the election commissioners. So जैसे collegium system होता है judges के लिए, ऐसे ही बोला election commissioners के लिए भी हमें collegium system बनाना चाहिए. क्यों collegium system बनाना चाहिए? क्यों करके, you know, it is rather like it's an opaque system. कैसे it's the center who is appointing the chief election commissioner and the election commissioners in India. And it is supposed to be an autonomous body, and free and fair elections are a basic feature of the constitution. So what we are trying to say is, अब एक collegium बनाओ और उस collegium में कुछ independent members रखो, कुछ search cum selection committee बनाओ, you know, something like the one in Lokpal, and there are a lot of drawbacks even in that, but at least we should have a collegium so that we have a clear-cut methodology by virtue of which we are appointing these chief election commissioners and election commissioners. अभी chief election commissioner भी हाल ही में change हुआ है, उसका नाम बताओ. I'm sure it has been done with you in your classes. So this particular thing was suggested by the Law Commission and the ARC Administrative Reform Commission and the Dinesh Goswami Committee, Justice Tarkunde Committee report of 1975. Well done. Good, Rajiv Kumar. The next one is Indian Army Chief Manoj Pandey conferred the honorary rank of Nepal Army General. So this has been happening between India and Nepal. You know, the diplomatic relations are rather nice. वो demonetization के time पे थोड़ा सा खराब हो गया था because हम उनको नए notes नहीं दे रहे थे. But on the whole बहुत बढ़िया है. UPI भी है यहाँ पे. अच्छा, UPI has been introduced in कौन सी foreign countries में है? Which all foreign countries accept UPI based transactions? अभी हाल ही में एक और भी इंट्रोड्यूस हुई है ना? UAE, that's nice. Also Bhutan and also Singapore में बात हो रही है, पर वो अभी तक हुआ नहीं है, तो obviously हमें कैसे पता होगा. ठीक है जी. So first let's talk about this. So the practice is a 7-decade-old tradition of decorating army chiefs of each other's countries with honorary titles. So Commander-in-Chief General K.M. Karipya was the first Indian Army chief to be decorated with the title in 1950. And in November last year, the chief of Nepali Army, General Prabhuram Sharma, was also made honorary general of the Indian Army by President Ramnath Kovind. And so this time, Indian Army Chief General Manoj Pandey was conferred the title of the Honorary General in Nepali Army by the Nepal President Vidya Devi Bhandari in Kathmandu. And President's official residence there is known as Sheetal Nivas. And he was presented with a sword and scroll. So you need to know the name. You should know the President of Nepal. And so extra army knowledge ye pata chal gayi ki, you know, the first Indian Army Chief to get this honor was General K.M. Karyappa. Recently, Kabul में there was a blast, and by recently I mean like 22 or 23 hours ago. So Kabul में there was a blast, and outside the Russian embassy, and 2 Russian diplomats were killed. And this comes amid the geopolitical tension between Russia and invasion of Ukraine. And Russia was one of the few countries to not leave Afghanistan even after the Taliban took over last year. And there's a lot of course, now this has happened. So we have to keep reading our newspapers that what will be the repercussions of this between the 2 countries. International Day of Charity, तो 5th September obviously Teachers Day है. International Day of Charity भी इसको मनाया जाता है ना जी? And why do they celebrate it as International Day of Charities? Because it is 5th September was the death anniversary of Mother Teresa in 1997. We also need to know what was the theme. So this year, they've taken the similar theme as the 2030 Agenda on Sustainable Development. So it observes that eliminating poverty is one of the greatest global challenges. And so hence there is an agenda that calls for global solidarity and to work for the less fortunate. And this is with respect to people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. International Day of Charity 2022 is focusing on the same agenda. Suresh Raina announces retirement from all forms of cricket. But if you are a fan or not, this has also happened today. And the last one. So Bharat Biotech's intranasal COVID vaccine gets DCGI nod for restricted emergency use. So basically, the Drug Controller General of India has approved Bharat Biotech's intranasal COVID vaccine. So what is the name? BBV 154. So BBV 154. And it was developed in partnership with Washington University, St. Louis. And this particular thing is going to be cost effective for low and middle income groups. So that is really, really nice. And oh, sorry, that is not the last one. This is the last one, right? Good, Vijay Somani, 17 SDGs by 2030. Bahut badhiya. This is absolutely the last one. So, Sheikh Hasina is over here, and you might have read about the Chittagong Hill Tract Accord. So, this is basically the Chakma tribe. The Chakma tribe is also in Mizoram. So, a lot of people from Chittagong area, the Chakma tribe, have also come to India. So, for organization of the Chakma tribe, they basically said that the accord that was signed, the Chittagong Hill Tract Accord, which was signed in 1997, it should be put into effect completely, entirely. What was this for? It basically said that jo bhi Bangladesh ki army hai, which is stationed in our areas, that should be removed, and there should be resolution of our land disputes, which you had promised us, and there should be resettlement of our tribal refugees, and all of these things have been happening for a really long time, but not entirely. So this particular treaty was signed 25 years ago, but of late, there have been, of course, if a representative from Bangladesh is coming to India, and the Chakma tribe is in India too, so they will obviously put forth this. This Hill District Council is in Bandarban, Khakrajari, and Rangamati. You need to know the three names. And the founder of the Chakma Development Foundation is Suhas Chakma. And well, let's see what the government does about it. And that is just about it. Okay. So that is all for today. Pehle to aap meko batao. Did we understand? Did we not understand? Are there any questions? Yes. Samajh mein aaya sabko? Everybody is understood. Everybody is written down their homework. Everyone will do the homework. Isko bas baar baar padhte rahiyega. And yes, I'm understood. Chakma wala, can you please elaborate? ठीक है जी. So basically, जैसे कि you must have heard about, so there are a lot of accords. जैसे Assam Accord was in news. What is the name? Tanisha. Assam Accord was in news. So these accords are basically agreements that are signed with an autonomous group and the government. And this particular Chittagong Hill Tract Accord was basically saying that, okay, we've done some wrong things in the past. We have gone and created a lot of violence, but now we are not going to do that. We are advocating peace. And so please don't put any Bangladeshi army camps where we reside, because it does not allow us to profess our liberty in a proper manner. Secondly, there are also a lot of land disputes, because you see, whenever there are tribes, the tribes, हिंदी में क्या बोलते हैं? आदिवासी. आदिवासी का मतलब क्या होता है? Original inhabitants. So these are original inhabitants. So they're like, if there is compulsory acquisition of property, where will we go? So A, don't do that. B, if you do that, talk about our settlement, resettlement, and rehabilitation. And so you've said it, but you've not really done it yet. And so they've said you should also make a land commission, and you should outline which lands can be taken over because of development, and which lands should not be taken over because the tribes have nowhere else to go. So what they've done is, so this particular Chittagong Hill Tract is basically in Bandarban and Khakrajari and Rangamati, and these three places are in Bangladesh. Why are we talking about it right now? Is because Sheikh Hasina is over here, and there are a lot of Chakma tribes in India. So they are advocating on behalf of their counterparts who are there in Bangladesh. Is that okay, everyone? Is that all right, bache? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes. So Hajong community is a little different, है ना? Who's talking about the Hajong community? Lalit Sinha. So Hajongs have also faced a lot of religious persecutions as they're non-Muslims and they do not speak Bengali, and they were in erstwhile East Pakistan. But this particular thing is primarily for the Chakma tribe. ठीक है जी. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Go and revise this, and I will see you super soon. Thank you.